it's no secret that one of the main reasons people come here to Charleston is to see our beaches. So we actually have 5 barrier islands, and today I'm going to walk you through each one because they all have their own vibes, and I want you to comment down below which one you resonate with the most. Before we jump right in, my name is Michaela and I'm a realtor here in Charleston, and if you're interested in moving to Charleston or have any questions, or you live in Charleston currently and are interested in buying or selling, or just have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But let's go ahead and let's explore these 5 barrier islands. Our Isle of Palms, Sullivan's Island, Folly Beach, Seabrook Island, and Kiawah Island. So we're actually going to go ahead and start in Isle of Palms, which is right near Mount Pleasant, and it's a 7-mile long island and it's 1 mile wide. It was originally called the Long Island for obvious reasons, and it's actually believed to be about 25,000 years old, and it was originally inhabited by the Seawee Indians that greeted the first English settlers that arrived to America. These Native Americans were known to be super welcoming, so they actually physically swam out into the ocean and brought the settlers to shore, which is crazy. There was lots of Civil War and Revolutionary War history here. It actually is connected to Sullivan's Island now, but before it was, there's an inlet within the 2 islands called Breach Inlet. This inlet itself actually became the departure point for the Hunley during the Civil War, and it's a beautiful place where you can go and just kind of chill by the water. There's a little park so you can walk like this little beach. There's plaques that talk about the history. Isle of Palms actually was believed to be where a lot of pirates also hid their treasure. Haven't found any yet. I'm hoping to one day. But the vibe of Isle of Palms in general is more of like a resort residential community. The island has public beach access, so anybody can come to Isle of Palms and enjoy the beach, and a lot of the homes actually have their own private access to the beach. There's lots of restaurants and shops to enjoy, especially down by the waterfront. There's also a marina on Isle of Palms, and you can also enjoy water sports, so you can go paddleboarding, kiteboarding. So as you go deeper into Isle of Palms, there is Wild Dunes, and this is more so of a gated resort community. So there are single family homes within Wild Dunes, but it's also known for its world-class resorts, spas, golfing. It does have beach access as well. A lot of events are held here, like weddings. It's definitely a very coastal experience. So now we're gonna jump right next door to Sullivan's Island, which is a 2.5 mile long barrier island at the mouth of the Charleston Harbor. So the vibe of Sullivan's Island is a little bit more residential than Isle of Palms. It's almost like a sleepy beach town almost. It has a very small town charm. There is one main street within the town that has the restaurants and shops, and this one main street is where all of the parks are, and the city hall, the fire department. You can also do water sports here as well, like paddleboarding, kiteboarding. You can also rent bikes. So Sullivan's Island is very historical as well, with history also dating back to the Revolutionary War, and because of that there are a lot of forts throughout the island, and the main one obviously is Fort Moultrie. This dates back to the Revolutionary War, and it got destroyed a few different times over the course of its lifetime, but it has been rebuilt. Fun fact, Edgar Allan Poe is actually stationed here. He was here from 1827 to 1828. Sullivan's Island is actually the setting that he used for his famous short story, The Gold Bug. But from this fort, you can see Fort Sumter, which is where the first shots of the Civil War were fired, and Fort Moultrie was also the site of a major Revolutionary War battle, the Battle of Sullivan's Island. And Sullivan's Island also has the very last lighthouse built by the federal government, and it's called Charleston Light, and it was built in 1962. So we're gonna jump from Sullivan's Island over to Folly Beach. So Folly Beach is right off of James Island, and it's also called the Edge of America. The vibe of Folly Beach is more so of a laid back, youthful, very lively beach. And this is more so where vacationers kind of gravitate towards, and it's full of lively bars and shops and restaurants. There is actually an oceanfront hotel there as well, and there's public beach access in multiple spots, so anybody can enjoy Folly Beach. And the first official document that actually acknowledges the island dates back to 1696, and back in the 1800s it was actually a temporary home to shipwreck survivors until it was cut off from the mainland because a lot of the survivors actually had cholera. Folly Beach was actually used as a main strategic base for the Union soldiers during the Civil War as they were trying to take Fort Sumter. It was then abandoned after the Civil War and just kind of gradually became a melting pot of different types of people as they realized that it was a beautiful beach located right next to a major city, and they were insane for not actually taking advantage of it. And they actually are just wrapping up their renovation of the Folly Beach Pier. So this is a really pretty pier where you can walk out and just enjoy the scenery of the ocean. You can enjoy live music. There's waterfront restaurants, and it's just a really fun place, especially if you want to take the family or just go fishing for a bit. It's definitely a spot to check out. And on the northern coast of Folly Beach is actually the Morris Island Lighthouse. And this is actually the oldest lighthouse in South Carolina, and it was built in 1876. So now we're gonna jump over to Seabrook Island. So Seabrook Island is right next to Kiawah Island, and they are right next to Johns Island. So Seabrook Island is just a little bit different from the other islands in the fact that it's a private oceanfront residential community. So you can only access Seabrook Island if you are a property owner, or if you are a guest of a property owner, or a club member. It's only 30 minutes from Charleston, and it has 2 championship golf courses, an equestrian center, a deep water marina, pristine beaches, oceanfront pools, a fitness and wellness center, a racket club, and amazing dining. And right next to Seabrook Island is Kiawah Island. So Kiawah Island is actually named after the Kiawah Indians that inhabited that island until the 1670s, whenever the English settlers showed up. The island itself went through multiple owners until it was bought by an investment company, and they turned it into a world-class resort that opened in 1976. Kiawah is 10 miles of beaches, and Kiawah actually has a lot of preserved forests and dunes, so you definitely see a lot more wildlife here than what you would at the other beaches. They also do have the Kiawah Island Golf Resort, and it actually held the PGA Championship in 2012 and 2021, and this is actually one of the most respected golf courses in the US. And people that visit Kiawah usually stay at the Sanctuary at Kiawah Island, which is a luxury oceanfront hotel that has amazing amenities like a spa, a fitness center, a really amazing pool. Part of the beach is for the residents, and then the other part has public access, and this is Beachwalker Park. And the island itself has a lot of bike paths, and they try to minimize the amount of traffic there just so that they can keep the forest and the dunes preserved, and also the wildlife preserved, which I think is absolutely amazing. Kiawah itself is absolutely beautiful. There is also a shopping village called Freshfields right outside of Kiawah Island, and there's a lot of really cute shops there, and an ice cream shop and restaurants, and it's just a really beautiful area just to take a stroll through. So this isn't one of the 5 major barrier islands, but this is a beach that a lot of Charlestonians do go to, and that's Edisto Island. So Edisto is more slow paced, it's casual, it's very quiet, and it's about 42 miles south of Charleston. Edisto Island itself is about 68 square miles, and it's absolutely rich in history. And since it's not one of the main 5 barrier islands of Charleston, there is a lot less traffic here, so there is more wildlife here, maybe a little bit more so than Kiawah. So Edisto has a lot of local seafood restaurants, they have a marina, they have a golf course, you can rent a beach house here. There's also a lot of outdoor recreational opportunities like golf karting and biking. They also do have a serpentarium, which is an open air exhibit of all the reptiles on the island, so if that's something that you are interested in, that they have that. So there are lots of trails on Edisto Island, and the most famous is the Spanish Mount Trail. So this is actually a 1.7 mile trail that leads to a 4,000-year-old shell mound. I believe it used to be about 20 feet tall, but it's just eroded over time, but it's definitely a sight to see. There's also Botany Bay, which is a 4,600 acre preserve. This was once a very thriving sea island cotton plantation, but it has been left undisturbed and is now a coastal habitat for wildlife. And then there's also Edisto Beach State Park, and this is the largest natural reserve on the East Coast, and it sits at the edge of the Ashpoo, Combahee, and the Edisto Basin, which is also called the Ace Basin, and it's one of the largest undeveloped wetland ecosystems on the Atlantic coast. So there's lots of wildlife here, and a lot of them are even endangered. So if you're a nature lover, I would definitely suggest taking a trip to Edisto Island. It's very peaceful and very quiet, and you can really get one-on-one with nature by seeing all this beautiful wildlife and just also being able to enjoy the beach. So that's a little overview of the 5 barrier islands plus Edisto Island as well, and just the different vibes that they have and a little bit of history of each. I really hope that it helped you out if you're trying to pick out which one to go to, or if maybe you found one you'd like to take a little trip to. I think my favorite's probably Sullivan's Island. That's just where I tend to gravitate towards the most. You can definitely see beautiful sunsets by Fort Moultrie there, and it's one of my favorite islands, but I grew up going to Folly Beach and Isle of Palms, so you really can't lose on going to any of them. They're all so beautiful and all so different in their own way. But definitely comment below which one is your favorite, which one you resonate with the most, or if you've been to them or all of them. I would love to know. And again, if you have any questions about buying, selling, or investing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!